It already starts off with, I hope you've got some time and a snack because this one's going to be super long as the events that follow span the late 2019 to last week, which was some point in early 2021.
Okay, Jesus. That's a
All names are
process.
altered herein. Okay, so here's the backstory. My soon to be ex wife was my high school sweetheart. We started dating in 1992 when we were both 17. We're both 45 now, and have been together ever since. She's the only woman I've ever been with in my entire life. We married 5 years later at 22, fresh out of college. A year later, we had our first of two children,
Boyfriend's
both
here.
boys, 22 and 17. 23 years I gave to her, built her a house, worked my ass off to give her the life she wanted. Sure, we had rough patches, but what marriage doesn't? Even in the worst of times, we found a way to pull through and come out of the other side better, which made the discovery of her affair that much more jarring. Flashback to March 2020, when I got the first feeling that something was off. For a good 2 months prior, we were in a funk, meaning they were kind of just in a fallout. I was on the mend from a reconstructive knee surgery, blew out my ACL in fall of 2019, but still lacking in movement. At the time, I had only about 55% range of motion on my knee. This took a toll quite a lot in the house. I was out on workers' comp as I had been injured on the job and I was unable to do my usual household duties, so a lot got backed up. My sons would do what they could, but tasks that only I was capable of doing had to be put on the back burner or my wife had to do, which she wasn't pleased with. Things also crawled to a standstill in the bedroom between us. It already had slowed down prior to my injury, but in the state I was, it completely stopped. During these months, the ex-wife, we will call her Sue, was spending more time, quote unquote, hanging with coworkers after work. Between November 2019 and March 2020, it was a regular occurrence for her. Naturally, I thought nothing of it. I've never had in the 23 years I've been with her any reason to worry or to not trust. She has her friends, I have mine, and we have mutual friends. I'd go hang out with my friends all the time and there was no issue. It was all above board. It was around January of this year that I noticed something odd. Sue started getting noticeably distant with me. Sure, we were in a funk, but she'd never deny me affection to that point. The usual hugs and kisses she'd given me had come to a halt. Her phone was attached to her hand long before my suspicion grew. But she always share and show me things she'd discover on the web. Stuff like DIY ideas, recipes, memes, and all kinds of stuff. But she was now being guarded about her phone. Even her interactions with me became more snippy, as if she couldn't be bothered. So now we're in March. COVID has arrived to New York City and is on lockdown. Our chosen careers fall under the quote-unquote essential designation, so neither of us have to work from home. I'd just been recently cleared to return to work after 5 months on the shelf, and I was eager to get back to it. As 5 months on my ass rehabbing my knee and not being able to do physical stuff drove me nuts. For context, I enjoy physical activities, I'm a martial artist, go to the gym 4 times a week on top of all the home projects. Within a week or two of the lockdown, Sue alerts me that she's going to have to start putting in extra hours. Again, I think nothing of it because of her field. Of course, I was under the assumption that'd be every other day, but no, it was every day. And not just an hour or two. She'd come 3 or more hours later and go straight to the shower, spend little time with me, little time with our 17-year-old, and then go to bed. Not with the 22-year-old because he lives across town with his girlfriend. As I'm able to support myself on my knee better, we started getting intimate again, but as you probably guessed, she wasn't mentally or emotionally present for it, which I noticed quickly. So by early April, the picture started getting clearer. All of the signs were pointing to the idea that she was having an affair. That's when I decided I needed to find answers, so I scoured the internet on things I should be looking for. Signs of infidelity in one's partner, and sure enough, she was pretty much ticking all of the boxes on such behavior. So then my search inquiry advanced to how I find proof. Started with her social media, looking at her Facebook entries from months prior. It's pretty much the usual pics of us, our sons, pics of her with her friend, and a few more pics of her nights out with her coworkers. In these pictures, it's a mixed bag of her closest friends from work, a couple of folk I've never met from her work. But I see one reoccurring thing in the number of pics. One guy. In every picture he's in, He's rather uncomfortably close to her, his arm around her shoulder or a hand on her lower back. Way too close for a guy I've never personally met. Needless to say, that put a sour taste in my mouth, but that wasn't the worst of it. No. The worst was the fact that apparently this dude is a friend of hers on Facebook, follows her on Instagram. So I look up his Facebook account, and you wouldn't know it, I'm blocked. Why the hell am I blocked? He's friends with her, but why am I blocked? Now I'm in Batman detective mode. At that point, I wasn't even trying to deny it. I knew she was cheating on me with this guy. My mission was to find out for how long. And for the course of April-May, that's what I did. I never had any clue of the depths of info you could secure a person from her phone, text, and email records up until then. We had a family plan cell phone package, and I was able to pull quite a bit of data. Sue's data history was telling. The two most frequent numbers she had interacted with from October 2019 to April 2020 was my own, and a number I'd never seen before. You can take a wild guess whose number it was. A quick Google search confirmed that it was the dude from the photos who had blocked him on Facebook. We'll call him POS, because that's what he is.
Okay, good name.
Again, the picture becomes even clearer at this point. But a lot of the messages and texts were disjointed, which means she was deleting a lot of them. I knew she was cheating on me with this guy, but nothing in the data could serve as a smoking gun. I needed more evidence. It's at this point that I tell my best friend Oz what I'd found. He asked me if I did confront her with what I had, and I said no because I felt like it wasn't enough. Based, by the way, it is fair that this is not enough. That's when he told me about an app that I could download to apparently spy on her communications in real time. I won't say the name as I don't know the rules on that here. I got it installed, synced up to my data plan, and waited. Within days of doing it, I finally saw it. A text string between the two talking about how much fun they'd had the previous night and making plans to do it again. Boom, gut punch. To say it was completely devastating was an understatement. I guess the moment counts as my D-Day. And for the next 2 days, I was just broken. I actively distanced myself from her for those 2 days, immediately after the D-Day, which she was noticeably shaken by. She tried to console me and ask me what was wrong, but I'd brush it off and leave her presence. I couldn't even look at her. This woman who I gave 23 years of my life to, who I'd given everything I could and more as a husband, she stepped outside of our marriage for a guy that's just 5 years older than our eldest son. By the third day, I wasn't even sad anymore. I was pissed. I contacted Oz to let him know my suspicion was confirmed, and he asked me had I confronted her yet. My answer is no, and I told him I wanted payback. I didn't want to just divorce her, I wanted to destroy her. I wanted to leave her life in shambles and fucking ruin her. I was going to take the time to do so, and I devised a plan. In my readings and research on infidelity, I had saw a quote that resonated with me that was, "The enemy of infidelity is unpredictability." That was going to be the basis of my plan. I was going to make her life hell on wheels, while also secretly planning my exit strategy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So now we're in early June. I've still got the app installed. Pretty much every night I'm gathering as much data as I can, seeing the back and forth messages. They're talking like it's a full-blown relationship they're in. Sexting, lovey-dovey stuff, nudes, the whole bag. At that point, I had stopped looking at any of it. I was just collecting info and cataloging it on my private FPS server. Meanwhile, I'd started doing things, quote-unquote, out of the ordinary. I started going out at odd times. I started coming home even later than she does. In her presence, I'm on my phone a lot more than usual. When she asks, "What are you up to?" I just say, "It's just stuff," and put my phone away. I'd also changed my login info on everything, so she couldn't access any of my stuff. Mind you, for our entire marriage, we never hid anything from each other. But right around, I'm assuming, the start of the affair, she changed her password on Facebook, as well as her phone, stating she had to because of security breaches in recent months. Yeah, convenient, isn't it? Anyway, I'd clued in Oz on my plan, as well as telling my older and only sister and a couple of my close friends what was going on. The people I trust with my life, and I swore them to secrecy. For context, Oz and I have been friends since we were kids. Other friends, Joey and Nina, we've known since high school. And make note of Nina. She comes down to play. July comes, and my soon-to-be ex-wife is in full paranoia mode. She's texting, calling me a lot more frequently now, asking me if I'm going to be home, and when she gets home. Asking if I'm going to be home when she's home, when I'm coming home, and when she's not. Asking me what I'm up to, the works. I can see the seed planted in her head the month prior is starting to sprout, especially in her communication with the PO she. She's confiding in him her doubt and confusion, telling him that I'm getting cold and distant. The fucking nerve of this woman. In the interim of these interactions with the POS, she suggests that maybe they should stop meeting up at our house because she has no idea if I just show up. Confirming that yes, she's been with this fuckwad in my house. Thanks, Sue. POS asked her in the specific communication, was she worried about me potentially cheating on her, which actually pissed her off. I can't even begin to describe the level of joy and how many laughs I got out of reading that exchange.
Sorry, could you... What did you say, sorry? Run it back like 2 sentences?
POS asks her in that specific communication if she was worried about me, the OP, potentially cheating on her, which pissed her off. Wow. I can't even begin to describe the level of joy and how many laughs I got out of reading that exchange. My cheating wife arguing with her affair partner over if she's mad her husband could be cheating on her. The fucking irony.
Fucking nerve. Holy fuck.
Now bear in mind,
Jesus.
I'm not hooking up with anyone. When I leave, I'm usually at Oz's or at Joey's place, throwing back some booze, watching fights, and spending time with my bros. Or at my big sister's, hanging out with my brother-in-law, who was like an older brother to me. My sister's 52 and her husband's 58. She had told him about Sue's infidelity, but not my plan. Couldn't risk it as he's a bit of a blabbermouth. We'll fast forward now on to October. That's when things seriously pick up. I've been in my fake affair for 3 months.
How much longer is this post? Holy shit!
It keeps going. It's the mother of all
I'm
posts.
invested. Please.
Yeah,
I'm invested.
that was me. That was me at the
waiting
beginning.
until you're done to start my stream, and I'm just sitting here like.
No, I thought you were gonna stream while this is happening.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't because I didn't know how nasty it got.
Oh, it gets spicy, woman.
But does it get stream unsafe? Is I think the question here.
Does it get stream unsafe?
I don't know if it gets stream unsafe.
Not necessarily. Like it just says the word "fucking" a lot.
I mean, I. Guess.
Oh no. Anyway.
I'm gonna drink some water. Hold up, beer.
Jesus.
I need to hydrate.
Oh, we have like a cinema break right now.
Yes.
So this
Yeah,
is...
we're having a cinema.
They should bring back those. They should bring those back.
Cinema
Did they ever leave?
Yes.
They didn't leave.
I've never had a cinema break in my life.
Intermissions are not common in a lot of Western movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
French.
But they does.
It is in Asian movies.
Doesn't do it anymore. What's
All
it
right.
called? Vue. That still does the intermissions.
Okay. We fast forward to October. That's when things are seriously picking up. I've been in my fake affair for 3 months now, and Sue is hyper aware of the fact that I'm actively pulling away from her. It's been as long as the day I enacted my plan until the day she confronted me on October 20th that I'd even touched her. So that's like approximately 8 months of very little to no contact.
Yeah.
So no hugs, no kisses, no initiation of intimacy, nothing. Not like she needed it. She was still fucking that POS just at his place or at motels. So that afternoon, she calls me at work, which wasn't rare before all of this began, but certainly hadn't happened in a while, and asks me to come straight home after work, saying she had something important to tell me. I'm not going to lie to you all. I half believed she was going to come clean about her infidelity, but of course she didn't. Instead, I get home to her asking me, was I unhappy with her? The fucking nerve.
The fucking nerve.
Holy shit.
She cites the fact that I've been spending way too much time away from home, I don't show her enough affection, or our sex life has completely died. She tells me she's worried I'm pushing her away because I was resentful of how she treated me the months I was rehabbing my knee. And then came the punchline. She fucking asked if I was cheating on her. Folks, I fell onto the floor laughing hysterically. And when I say hysterically, I mean Joker laughing gas hysterical. On the surface, it looked like to her, I'm assuming, it was me laughing off the notion of being unfaithful. But it was, of course, actually me laughing at the sheer irony of what was happening in front of my eyes. I'm tearing up, pounding the floor in complete hysterics for a good 2 minutes before I compose myself enough to answer. I sit up, I look her in the eyes for the first time in months, and I shake my head, but I don't give her an answer. I stand up, brush myself off, kiss her on the top of the head, and go about my settling for the night. Later that night, as I'm in my office, I decide, you know what? Given the brevity of what happened, I wanted to see what she was telling him. So I fire up the app, and sure enough, they're texting in real time. She tells POS, I know he's cheating on me. I asked him tonight, and he literally laughed in my face. He fell on the floor and laughed for 5 minutes. Parentheses, it wasn't 5 minutes, obviously. He doesn't even care how I feel anymore. I don't know how or why, but he's gone. I know I've lost him. This is karma. I know it. The smile I had on my face reading that must have resembled a Cheshire cat. She was breaking. POS attempted to console her, saying that if I cared enough for her, she wouldn't have had to come to him to give her what I wasn't giving her. But the tone of her responses told me she was having doubts now. She had the nerve to step out of our marriage because I was unable to fill my role as a husband due to a legitimate injury and kept the affair going for, at that point, nearly an entire year. But the idea of losing me to another woman was enough to make her waver. What a fucking weakling. Now,
Oh my god.
now, during all of this, I was also exacting the second plan of my payback, getting all of my affairs in order financially. In September, I had met with a family attorney to get the ball rolling on divorce paper with a mountain of evidence I had piled up until that point. New York is an at-fault state as far as divorce. An overwhelming amount of proof I'd gathered, simply displaying Sue's infidelity, pretty much solidified I could nail her to the fucking wall in the divorce case. My lawyer instructed me to get all of my financials in order in preparation for what the division of assets might come as a result. I went one better than that, secretly pulling all of my money from our joint account and putting it in my personal account. I also started shopping around for an apartment as a part of phase 2. We're now in November. I've not changed my behavior. In fact, I've ramped it up. This is where my friend Nina comes into play.
Oh,
For context,
Yes.
For context, Nina and Sue have never... Grace, I know you're not laughing at this. Nina and Sue...
Somebody in my chat was just like, what the fuck is this 20-minute Reddit push shit?
Oh wait, you're streaming.
You actually went live. No, this gets better.
Okay.
Hello, Grace's chat. This is just going to get better, I promise you.
It's apparently only getting better.
For context, Nina and Sue haven't never been what you call close. I met Nina freshman year of high school 2 years before I met Sue. Even way back then, Sue has seen Nina as a threat, as she is my closest female friend. There's always been an implied I don't trust her regarding Nina. She's never addressed it directly, but it's obvious to anyone who pays attention. Conversely, Nina has never been a big fan of Sue. Early in the relationship, Nina called my attention how Sue was pretty much imposing herself into our little square of friends, whereas I didn't do it with Sue's set of friends. That irked Nina because she knew why Sue was doing it. Among Sue's circle now, there are no male friends, aside from the POS, whereas Nina is the only girl in my square. Nina had been stuck overseas due to the virus, and finally returned to New York City on November 3rd. Oz, Joey, and I decided we were going to celebrate her return with a night at Joey's house for dinner and drinks. There was 5 of us: Oz, Joey, Joey's wife, Nina, and myself. Sticking to the CDC guidelines, we take the Rona very seriously. Nina, being the evil mastermind she is, comes up with an idea to trigger Sue. She suggested we take the same photos that Sue and POS had months prior and post them on his Facebook. And that's what we did. It wasn't until the 5th that Sue got wind of it, as I'm guessing a few friends noticed my updates and saw how uncomfortably close I was with Nina. This really fucked her mind up, because she still believed I was cheating, and I can almost guarantee she wanted to accuse Nina, but she knew that Nina had been stuck in Europe for the majority of the year. Still didn't stop her from attempting to dress me down that night for what she said was so handsy in that pic. I saw this as a golden opportunity to deliver the lead jab for my knockout blow. I say, so what about the pics with you and POS from last year? He was pretty handsy in them, but you didn't see me get bent out of shape. Deer in headlights.
Oh.
It was the first time I even mentioned the dude throughout all of this. The hamster wheel in her head started reeling in real time as she tried to explain away those pictures. To that point, she didn't even know I saw them, let alone... That's how little I use Facebook. When I actually do post something, it's like an event or something specific that I have to post, which is why the pics with Nina specifically got so much traction. And explain away she did. Oh, he's that way with everyone. Oh, he's just really a friendly guy. I can see how it looks, but there's nothing going on there. I'm sorry those pics hurt you. I'll delete them. No. The pics aren't what hurt me. The year you've been fucking the dude whilst lying to me that you're working extra hours and hanging out with friends is what hurt me. But vengeance, as Lieutenant Calm Worf from Star Trek said, is a dish best served cold. From that night, Sue was being extra special, clingy, and attentive to me, like annoyingly so. She's trying to initiate affection and intimacy with me, and I'd stonewall her at every chance. All the while, I'm still archiving everything she's saying to POS. Mind you, by this point, I'd long since gone numb. Any desire I might have had to save my marriage was dead. I checked out the day I enacted the first phase of my plan. She's confiding in him that I've gotten worse, that she doesn't know what to do, and she feels like I absolutely hate her. Parentheses, I do. Then comes the bombshell. She says she can't see him anymore. The guilt is too much for her, and she feels karma is suffocating her. She can't risk losing me. She says that she loves POS deeply, but she's still in love with me, and she has to save her marriage before she loses me. No, my dear. You're about 8 months too late for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, ma'am, that's not how that fucking works.
POS loses his shit, saying such lovely things as, he doesn't love you the way I love you, and you're making a mistake, you can't just throw me away like this. That text change would be the last they'd have until about 3 weeks ago. Throughout the remainder of November into December, Sue is stuck in limbo. She's trying to gauge where my headspace is, and is still unable to tell if I'm actually being unfaithful. Meanwhile, POS is steadily blowing up her phone, but she's not responding to him. I see her check the phone often, and then quickly put it away. Meanwhile, phase 2 of the plan was now officially complete. The divorce papers were done, I'd found me a studio apartment in Co-op City, and signed a 2-year lease on it. All of my money was in my personal account, and I was ready to throw the haymaker. So now we're at Thanksgiving. My oldest and his...
Really? Fucking
Hold up.
Thanksgiving?
Hold up.
Oh, shit. Come on.
My oldest and his girlfriend were hosting a small gathering of our immediate families. So them, her parents, myself, Stu, and their younger brother. We have a great night. My oldest's girlfriend is studying to be a chef, and she did the cooking herself. The girl can fucking cook, let me tell you. As I had to keep appearances of nothing being wrong between Sue and I initiated the affection with her several times that evening. Kisses on the cheek, cute little hugs, wrapping my arms around her shoulders from behind. The gestures didn't go unnoticed by her, as she reveled in it. Bear in mind, this was the first time I touched this woman since I kissed the top of her head the night she confronted me in October, so about 2 months. Not gonna lie, I felt repulsed doing so, but I had to. I couldn't risk the plan, after all. And me being distant to her in the face of my boys, my oldest girlfriend, and her parents would set off alarms. So my youngest decides he wants to stay over with his big brother for the night, so Sue and I go home. On the drive home, she thanks me for being so good to her, and says, I don't know what you're going through, baby, but I'm here for you. And I had to hold off busting out in maniacal laughter, and just responded by saying, I know, I just need time. So for the first time since spring, we had sex that night. I figured, fuck it.
Literally.
With what I'm about to do, I may as well get some action before I delete her from my existence. I won't go into detail, but it wasn't lovemaking. When I finished, she was a lump of flesh, laying there trying to figure out the direction of the truck that ran her over. No cuddling or anything after.
Jesus Christ.
No cuddling or anything. I just got up, showered, and went to sleep in my office. To her confusion, I used a condom. Kicker. First time in 2 decades that I did that. She was definitely perplexed, but didn't ask questions. Sure as hell wasn't going raw and knowing what she had done with POS for the months up until that point.
Mm.
I wake up the next day, check my handy dandy spy app, and for the first time in a week, she responds to POS. Dude went full novella. He professed his love for her, said she was wasting her time trying to rekindle a flame that died, that she'd been in prison with me for 23 years and deserved to experience love and affection a man like him could cherish. Mind you, this dude is 27 years old, 5 years older than our oldest son, and that sprung on a 45-year-old married daughter of 2. This is my favorite bit. What a grade A, high quality simp. She chose to blow up our marriage and destroy the home we'd built for this dude? Pretty boy with a soft side? Ha! She responded pretty much saying the same thing she said last time they talked, that she loves him and enjoyed their time together, but she can't lose me. I'm still the love of her life, but she'll always have a place for him in her heart. That they can still be friends if he chooses, but the physical relationship between them is over. He begged her to see her one last time, and yep, you guessed it, she said yes.
She did.
One more for the road, right?
Oh.
Who am I to say anything? That's what I did with her the previous night. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Jesus. That's ridiculous.
Of course, I
How much
had...
longer is this text post, by the way? Like, we're
This is the
I
final
was
act.
like, we're hitting the 20-minute mark of poor Heck reading this.
We're at
This
20
is-
minute mark.
I think I've already done like 3 battles in World of Tanks in the meantime.
This is the final act, I promise.
Okay.
But it is long.
Then I'm gonna go bed.
One more for the road, right? Who am I to say anything? That's what I did last night. Of course, I added all of that to the archive that I was compiling. December
Yeah.
4th is when my Phase 3 and final phase of Operation Shinobi Ghost started.
Shinobi
Shinobi Ghost.
Fucking weeb.
Weebaz.
The divorce papers were in my hand. My new place or residence was set up. Now I had to slowly start moving stuff outside the house. But first I had to break the news to my boys. I called my oldest into the house Friday night, had them join me in my office, and laid out everything on the table. Not the specifics, but that their mother had been cheating on me for over a year, and I was going to be filing for divorce soon. The 17-year-old was especially shaken up by this because he himself had recently experienced his first taste of infidelity. Yup, his first girlfriend ever cheated on him 4 months ago.
Yep.
Seeing his heart broken a second time at the idea that his own mother was capable of doing this hit him hard. My oldest took it with a lot better and suggested taking his brother with him to leave until this blowover, which all parties agreed to. We packed some of his stuff, and he asked if I was going to be okay. I told him, yes, son, I'm going to be all right, and so are you. We are going to be all right, I promise. And then they were off. The hardest part was now over, and now it was time to arm the nukes. Over the next few days, day by day, Oz would help me get a little bit of my most sensitive stuff outside the house. I gave him a list of all the stuff that he needed to grab while Sue and I were at work, and I left him a spare key. This was all stuff Sue wouldn't notice was missing unless you told her it was gone specifically. I'd gotten a new phone and a new number and told everyone who needed to know. Oz, Joey, Nina, both of the boys, Big Sis, Mother, and everyone else who needed to know my contact info. Meanwhile, I'm keeping up the ruse with Sue, and she's none the wiser, trickling bits and pieces of affection here just to keep her off of the trail while she is still in contact with POS. Not to the extent that they had been prior, but there's still the emotional thing happening. The fog is faint, but it's still there. All while I gather everything, and I do everything, every bit of data I've archived since the plan, calls, logs, texts, pics, emails, everything, and start making printouts. Folks, I must have spent over $1,500 on staple supplies, printer ink, paper, binders, and the works. And I cataloged everything in order from the beginning of the affair until a little bit under 2 weeks ago. So December 16th, up until December 16th, is in the binders. And there's 14 of those binders.
Holy shit. Fuck.
I put each one in a box, gift wrapped each, and addressed them to various people. My mother, who is a widow for 7 years now, her parents, her 2 sisters, her brother, her HR department. By the way, did I mention that the POS works for that company too? Several of our friends, that POS, and that POS's parents.
What?
I
Impressive.
lugged every single one of those fucking binders to the post office and shipped them out on December 16th. ETA for delivery December 22nd to December 24th.
Fucking Jesus Christ.
Merry fucking Christmas.
Oh fuck.
So now we're at Christmas Eve. Sue comes home around the usual time. No idea if she's seen POS. I stopped tracking her app on the 18th. Figure I'd gotten all of the mileage I needed from it. As per usual, she showers, hang out with me for a bit. I blow her back out on the living room couch. I know, I'm an asshole. And she turns in for the night.
My
Okay.
God.
Impressive.
Mate.
The final phase was upon me at last. The nuke I'd been arming since June was finally about to be launched. In the middle of the night, I woke up, wrapped up one of the 3 remaining binders with the divorce papers taped to the inside cover, set it on the side of my bed with a note that said Merry Christmas on it. Next to it, I left my old phone and the business card of my lawyer. I packed up the remainder of my most needed items, enough to fill 2 backpacks, and I left home, the one that I spent 23 years in, for the last time. That, my friends, at the time of writing this, was 1 week ago. To Sue, I am completely off the grid. Gone. Shadow ghosted. She's blocked on Facebook, but still hasn't blocked me for some reason, so I'm keeping tabs on the fallout, and it's absolutely glorious. My packages have reached everyone I've sent them out to, and Sue is getting crucified. Her younger sister completely dressed her down. Both of her parents have condemned her. My mom absolutely destroyed her. Like, holy shit, I knew my mom has a mean streak, but the things she called Sue were unfucking holy. She's been frantically trying to find out if anyone knows where I am, but those that do aren't saying a word. All over her Facebook feed, she's desperately trying to reach me because I'm guessing she knows I'm likely looking. But I've not said a fucking word to her without my lawyer present. That'll be the next time I share oxygen with her. She's got no way of spinning the narrative to paint me as the bad guy because I've exposed her to everyone who matters to her. And from what a mutual friend who works in the same company as her tells me, she and the POS are being put on administrative leave as of tomorrow. So chances are she'll be going into 2021 unemployed. As for the final 2 binders, well, one has been turned to my lawyer as a final bit of evidence for my impending divorce, and the last one I put in my storage unit to be burned in Joey's fire pit when the divorce is final. Do I feel guilty about this? No, not even the slightest. 23 years I did right by this woman. I gave her the home she wanted. I gave her the family she wanted. I gave her the life I felt we both deserved, and I loved her unconditionally. Never have I faltered, never have I strayed, never have I even entertained the notion of breaking my vows. When an issue came up that I felt was affecting our marriage, I came to her and told her, and we sorted it out the best we could. She opted to find comfort in another man's bed, rather than to come to me and say she was unhappy with our sex life at the time. She decided to step out with a young punk who gave her tingles. So no, I have no sympathy for what I did, or for her. She can burn in hell for all I care. The most I stand to lose is my house, a car, and maybe a couple $100 a month in alimony. But seeing as the divorce is filed under the statute of adultery, and New York State is an at fault, that might get waived with the insurmountable amount of evidence I provided. As far as I'm concerned, she's dead to me, and I'm never looking back. Quick edit. New York State is not fully at fault. Under certain circumstances, a divorce can be filed at fault, but my lawyer has informed me my case falls under. I'll be meeting with Sue and the lawyer tomorrow. I'm guessing I'll update here. Update 1.
Oh, there's okay.
Wait, how many updates are there? Is
2.
it preference?
Okay.
Okay.
They're long ones, by the way.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. So I'm not going to go over the rewind he's doing. I'm going to go back to the new part of the post. Christmas Day was the first full day I spent in my new apartment, and it's still a work in progress. I have more stuff I want to get, but overall I made it my home since I'm going to be here for 2 years at least. My boys and the eldest came over. My boy and the eldest's girlfriend came over, spent a portion of the day with me. The girl brought treats, also made a nice meal, and got to shoot the shit with them after a long time of not being able to do so. My big sister came over as well, and we hung out. And the first time she'd seen the nephews in nearly a year, after obviously with COVID, so it was a good time for everyone to come by and hang out. Everyone cleared around 8-ish, and I decided I wanted to go hang out with Joey and his wife Claudia. Hung with them for a couple of hours, had a couple of drinks, and then went back home. Around midday, a couple of days later, I get a text from Nina asking if I was busy that night. So we agreed to meet up after I got work. She's always up. We'd go to a diner not far from where I work. Indoor dining was at 25%. So after we seated and ordered food, Nina pretty much lays all of her cards on the table, and I knew this was coming. She basically confessed that she has liked me all the way since we were teenagers, but never got the chance because Sue swooped in and scooped me up before she could. For context, I've known Nina longer than Sue by 2 years. As I mentioned, she's been the center point of my social square with Oz and Joey. We were the social outcasts in high school. The raver kid, the kids who didn't fleek in other cliques. Back then, Nina had a weight problem and was diabetic. She was the heavyset goth chick who was super cool, but no guy would ever give a second glance at. But we always had the chemistry. These days, Nina is a personal trainer and yoga instructor. She was the ugly duckling who grew into one hell of a beautiful swan, if I must say. Long story short, we decided that upon the finalization of my divorce, we were going to start seeing each other. And yeah, I slept with her that night.
God damn. Oh my god. Fid yoga goth chick? Fuck
Yep.
hell.
Man's living the dream.
You
He cashed out.
He
He fucking cashed out.
descriptions that are more hotter than that.
Am I ashamed of sleeping with her? Hell no. Nina's a better friend to me than Sue ever was. That's not saying Sue wasn't my best friend, but through the near quarter of a century I've known Nina, she's always supported me, even so much as I learned that day, willing to take a step back from her own feelings to allow me to pursue what eventually became my wife and Sue. Okay. On to the day I met with my ex-wife and the lawyer to discuss the divorce. Oh boy. It's now been 2 weeks since I had ghosted Sue. This past Monday, I got a phone call from my staking that Sue's attorney has scheduled a meeting for us to discuss the terms of the divorce. I met with him on Tuesday to discuss the terms I'm wanting. Long story short, uncontested divorce under grounds of marital neglect from Sue. My terms are in full division of assets, me selling half the house of ownership to her, and she can have it. We keep our respective vehicles, I keep my cabin in the Poconos, and then under pretenses of marital neglect, she gets no spousal support from me. As for 17-year-old, he's free to choose who he wants to reside with following the divorce, which will most likely be me. So Wednesday comes up, and I show up to my lawyer's office dressed in my Johnny Cash best. A fantastic description. My wife and her lawyer, she looks like shit, barely holding it together, and I give her the stone face. I won't bore you with the lawyery babble, but the lawyer presented an offer for reconciliation. I shot them down, and as soon as she finished listing the details of the request, like I said, I'll spare you the details. We agreed to legal separation, leading to uncontested divorce. The only revision is that I will have to pay $653 a month of spousal support to cover the cost of utilities until she's gainfully employed again. Yep, she got fired, and so did the POS. Upon to a year of finalization of the divorce. I make enough that it won't financially hurt me, so whatever. It'll roughly take 3 months of things to go. So after those 3 months, I'll be free of her. After the meeting, my lawyer gives me some final words before telling me he'll be in touch to update me on the progress of the filing. Back out on the street, Sue chases me down and asks if we can talk. I figure I'd give her at least that. She held it together fairly well in the meeting, but outside let the waterworks flow, saying how sorry she was, how she never meant it to go as far as she did. She says she never expected to fall in love with POS, but knew when she thought I was cheating how wrong it was to betray her and her own husband in that way. She asked could I ever find in my heart to forgive her, and that maybe in a few years we can start over. That she can't imagine what her life is going to be without me. I tell her to start imagining it soon, because this will be the last time I ever speak to or see her. I tell her that the 17-year-old is almost a man and old enough to make his own choices as to his own future. I say that I gave her half of my life and every ounce of love I had, unconditionally. And she, in her own words, fell in love with another man. That there is absolutely no chance of me ever forgiving her. That all the love I had for her was slowly killed all of those months that she confided and professed her love to POS, rather than coming to me and telling me she had any form of issue with how things were going with us. I told her I loved who she once was, but I hate who stands before me, and that if I never see her again, it'll be too soon. Here we are, on the sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan, her making a scene, crying her eyes out. A couple of folk walk by and give me side-eye glances, but at that point, I could not care less. I wasn't about to publicly humiliate her further. I pretty much already socially and professionally destroyed her, but I needed to get the last bit of emotion I had for her out. I finished by telling her I did not regret the 23 years I spent being her husband. I regretted that in 23 years, she decided the easy way out was the better option, and that for 23 years I thought she was mine. But it turned out it was just my turn. I put on my Raycons, turned around, and walked away.
Raycons? Was this an ad all along?
Raycons?
Was this
I-
an ad
I-
all along?
I hope this is an ad, because this is too good. This is too
I
good
am
of a
gonna
story.
say so.
I put on my Raycons.
This feels so incredibly fucking fake.
It does,
It does.
but I
Feels like a
love
revenge
it.
fest.
There's no show. Like
Is
the
just
fact-
an ad for Raycons.
It
the
is,
fact
like,
that
at
she
the end.
just the thing where he installed an app where he can track messaging.
That's
First
actually
off,
those are
how?
real.
Those are
I
real.
know
real.
it's real, but it's also extremely illegal, or at least you basically cannot
Not
use
in the
it in a
US.
legal case.
Not in the U.S.
Not if you have suspicion.
Yeah, if there's enough suspicion, which he had, and also just in the U.S., those aren't illegal because your phone company already does that. My phone company has a record of every single thing I have ever done on my phone.
They
in
don't
their
have European
archives.
privacy laws.
Texting,
probably.
yeah.
Yep.
They don't have
So,
Euro-
and the
European
all the cops have to
blast.
do is say, "Hey, we have reasonable enough suspicion. We need the phone log." So that those apps are technically perfectly legal in the U.S. because they just feed off of the logs that your
Phone is sending.
IP your phone is already using. Yeah. So like the shit that
It's
like,
just your own
you can
information
even-
being sent back to you.
Yeah, it's just your own information being sent back to you. Because as far as they're concerned, since he is the owner of that phone policy, her phone is his.
Yep.
So he's
That's
just
probably
asking
that's
for his
probably what
own
gives him the
logs.
legal right to do that, because
Yep.
not only is he paying for it, it's within his cell phone plan.
Yep.
So
It's within his cell phone plan. It's with like legally. So like if my dad, because my dad still has my cell phone plan because it's just way fucking cheaper for me to PayPal him each month
yeah,
than it is for me to do anything else. So it's also like in my chat somebody said these are specifically designed to track children. But it's like
which makes sense. Yeah.
Because my dad is the owner of my plan. My dad technically owns my phone, despite the fact that I paid for it. As far as legality is concerned, on paper, my father owns my phone, so he can request at any time from our phone our phone provider my transcripts, and there is nothing I can do about it. Would he? No, my dad's not a dick. But
That feels
like
extremely
he
weird. to me.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I pay like
I even had like someone pop into the computer store where I worked and ask like, "Hey, could you help me install an app so I can track my child?" And I was basically said straight up, "No, fuck you."
mhm.
It's
fucking do it.
like at least here it's super fucking illegal to just do that.
All right.
It's not
Which is
something I'm
fine.
gonna burn myself on.
Yeah.
This
But
is
it's like-
this is a surprise none of you are expecting. Later that night, the father of Sue calls me and apologizes. He praises me for always being a good man to his daughter and tells me he's ashamed of her and that he raised her better than what she did. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna miss the old man. My dad died a few years ago, so he's always been my default father figure since. But I can't see myself maintaining a relationship with anyone on her side of the family. After that call, I went to Facebook and symbolically changed my relationship status to divorced. Not final yet, but in my eyes, it's over and done. Of course, Nina called me, shocked that I pulled the trigger so fast. Obviously, I was already in the process when we spoke, but she had no way of knowing. I asked her if she could come over, and of course, she comes a-running. We knocked boots again. This time, she stayed the night. We laid in bed and talked to the wee hours of the morning, and I haven't felt this level of relief and connection in a really long time. Nina gets me, and I can't get enough of being around her. Since the day she confided in me, she's all that's been on my mind. And I know people are going to say it's fucked up, but as far as I'm concerned, my marriage ended the day that POS let Sue touch his pecker, so I'm about to.
Jesus
The
Christ.
last paragraph here is just, that's it. Divorce is in the works. I can't deny I feel this. I feel like I feel good about Nina, and we're going to take it slow, not announcing the divorce until it's legal. She could. I don't care what happens to Sue. She can move the POS to our old home for all I care, and the $653 I will pay is nothing compared to the relief I will get. Second update, and this is where it gets extra.
Nasty?
Oh no. How is it not already extra? Hang on.
We're not done.
There, aren't we? Oh my god.
The hits just keep on coming.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go through the backstory. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Over the next 4 days, her life completely imploded. Her family excommunicated her. Her friends ostracized her. My own mother took her to task, calling her the most scathing and vile things you could possibly think of. Her and her lover were placed on administrative leave and eventually fired. Last week, the divorce hearing settled on the legal separation and the money, which I don't care for. As one of my closest friends, 2 sons and older sister have my contact info, and I've completely blocked Sue on all social outlets. She has no means of reaching me since I left after Christmas Eve. But some of her mutual friends still do. Last night I'm hanging out in my apartment, get a voice call notification on Messenger from one of the friends. She didn't waste time, and I answered, went to check in on Sue, and found her passed out in the bedroom, foaming out the mouth with 2 bottles of empty pills next to her. She is in the ICU in critical but stable condition. The doctor said she will likely pull through. She's clearly not going to be well after. She begged and pleaded for me to come. The friend, not Sue. Her parents and 2 of her sisters were also there at the hospital. My guess is they were notified by the hospital who couldn't contact me because I was probably in the number to contact on her records. Sue would still have my emergency as emergency contact. I simply told her no. Sue's not my problem anymore, and she clearly decided she wanted to take the easy way out rather than deal with the shame and agony of the 23-year marriage she blew up. And then I told her friend that if Sue's family were there, they can help her sort out her pieces. But as far as we are connected, there is no Sue and I anymore. I then ended the call. I had a few hours to sleep on it. My son's calling me this morning asking if I knew. I told them yes, but I also let them both know that if they wanted to be their supportive of their mother, I will not hold it against them or judge them for it. She is their mother after all. But I myself will wash my hands of her and care little to nothing about what she's done to herself anymore. They were both a little taken aback by this, but respected my stance. However, now that the news broke out about her suicide attempt, many of those friends who dropped her are all starting to surface again, and saying I need to be there for her. That even despite what she did to me, I need to support her in a time of need. I've also been informed that the POS tried to visit this morning, but wasn't allowed because he's not family. I'm getting dogpiled on to go see her, but I feel nothing for this woman anymore. I haven't for a very long time. I checked out during the process of getting my paycheck for her betrayal, and I stand by the fact that I don't care at all for what she's done. In fact, it makes me hate her even more. She's the one who was unfaithful. She's the one who, through a near year-long fling with a guy 5 years older than our oldest son, was good enough to destroy 23 years of marriage. And now that she has to face the consequences of her choices, she chooses the most selfish way to deal with. Even now, seeing as she's all likelihood going to survive, she's cultivated immediate sympathy from everyone who took her to task, and I'm being made out to look like the jaded ex-husband willing to unsympathize for her, unlike her family. Her dad has reached out and said he respects my decision to stay away. It's like I never even truly knew this woman. 23 fucking years and it comes to this. Yes, I know the way I think I broke off things may have put her in a poor mental state. But now a whole new can of worms has been opened up because either she had a complete mental breakdown and decided to self-delete herself, or she made an extremely risky and calculated move to call favor back from people who just weeks prior condemned her for betraying me. She cheated on me and now she's the victim? Sorry if this comes a bit rant-ish, but I'm here trying to wrap my brain around this. I want to be perfectly clear. I am not going to visit Sue. She waived her right to me caring about her well-being the day she let POS put his dick inside her. This might as well come off as heartless, but despite the cool, calm, collective way I've been throughout my ordeal, my feelings are still very much raw, and I do not give a fuck about this woman. Haven't for a very long time. I'm aware I'm going to be vilified
Hi.
by a number of folk here. I do not much give a shit. Think of me however you want. If you were in my shoes, you would see her actions
Hi.
vastly differently.
Hmm.
Damn.
That was it.
No, there's more, but it's more ranting about the
Meh
situation.
ranting.
There's a link, by the way.
Hold on. I love this quote. Maybe I am a heartless sociopath, but as Arthur Fleck so famously said, you get what you fucking deserve.
Jesus.
Wow.
I gave this woman
Okay.
all my life, had be the best husband ever by her own admission. By her own admission, I had no bearing in her decision to step outside of marriage. She did it for her. Her selfishness knows no bounds. She can rot in the darkest pit of hell. Cool. I have no sympathy for her. Quick
Just
update.
like
This is the
Oh.
final paragraph of this entire sequence.
How quick?
Okay, finally.
It's one
This
final
is a
paragraph.
literal hour. Literal hour.
hour.
I've been informed by Sue's dad that she's moved from ICU to the mental health wing. Doctors are still monitoring her mental state. She's conscious and cognitive again, but lethargic. Her father told me she asked whether I came to see her. He said no, and she immediately shut down after. He respectfully said, any further news he'll share is only if I inquire it, because he understands the headspace I'm in. Also, I've scheduled counseling for the 17-year-old. Their first consultation is the coming Monday. And there you have it.
Jesus Christ.
One of the most completely unhinged, but quite probably my favorite Reddit story I've ever read. It can all be fake. I do not care. That was a fantastic ride.
Fucking